So tonight's film was one I've wanted to see since it premiered at Sundance earlier this year, and that is Debra Granik's Leave No Trace. Debra Granik has not made a film since 2010's Winter's Bone, which received a Best Picture nomination, obviously, at the Academy Awards, as well as Best I can't remember if it was adapted screenplay. Okay, adapted screenplay and Best Actress for Jennifer Lawrence. It was really the movie that pushed her into the spotlight, and Best Supporting Actor for oh my god, I just forgot his name. John Hawkes. Ugh, I was pushing so hard for that. I was really glad that happened. So she's made some documentaries since then, or a documentary since then, but this is her first narrative film since Winter's Bone 8 years ago. It's been a while. Very excited to see that she had a new film out, and I was so glad when it finally came here to Atlanta. It released a couple of weeks ago in New York and LA, and it's finally sort of platforming out. This film is very much about two characters played by Ben Foster and Thomasin McKenzie. Thomasin McKenzie is sort of a newcomer. She's from New Zealand. She was in one of the Hobbit movies. She plays a 13-year-old girl who lives with her father, played by Ben Foster, who is a veteran who has PTSD and has the two of them living in the forest in Portland, in actually a park in Portland, Oregon. Unfortunately, they get found, and public services, Child Protective Services, etc., sort of starts intervening and tries to place them places. This leads to a spiral of events that I don't want to spoil. But the bulk of the film is the two of them as you see their life as it was, and then you see their life as the daughter Tom sees ways in which life could be different for her, and the ways in which, although she is slightly different than other people because of the way she was raised, she's not quite as unfit to live with people as her father is. And it's not that he's unfit, it's just he just can't. He needs to keep moving, and she needs just a little bit of stability, and this begins to cause friction as they attempt to restart their life. You also have a nice little bit with Dale Dickey towards the end of the film. She was also in Winter's Bone. She just looks like such a normal person. The thing that I love about Debra Granik's films is that she really creates a true feeling of rural America. And I can't remember, I think Winter's Bone was supposed to be Kentucky or somewhere in that kind of area. This is mostly Oregon. Now, I was raised in Northern California, just below the Oregon border, but that kind of sort of off-the-grid existence is very much part of that part of Northern California as well as Oregon. I was actually born in Oregon, so fun fact. And it felt very true to that kind of rural Northern California, Southern Oregon kind of area. I guess Portland is more Northern Oregon, but that when people think of Oregon, they think of Portland and they think of Portlandia, and that part of Oregon is very different from the rest of Oregon. And this felt very true to the sort of vibe of Oregon and to the possibilities that the forest sort of can have if you're able to live a certain way. And I thought it really established that world and that milieu really, really well. Thomasin McKenzie is so fierce in this film. She is such a independent person and such a strong thinker. And you see her really being this strong, wise before her years, but still very curious and still very girly, not girly in the like froofy way, but in an innocent sort of way. Even though she's had to grow up faster than she would have liked, she still has her little horse, figurines, and she still likes bunnies, and she still has her favorite animal that she's discovered and wants to learn all about. And that's what adds a layer of trueness to this film. And then you have Ben Foster, who is just so good. He's good in everything I've ever seen him in. He is extremely talented. He's gone through phases in his career, but it freaks me out that he's now old enough to play someone with a 13-year-old daughter, because he was playing teenagers when I was a teenager. But I think he's only a few years older than me. Let's look at this. Yeah, he's only a few years older than me, so that freaks me out. But you know what? Whatever. People have kids young. It's fine. He's great in this. And I'm trying to. There's a film it reminded me of, and now I'm forgetting what it was. It was not the one with Viggo Mortensen, because I did not see that. Oh, it reminded me of a bit of Ballad of Jack and Rose, which I watched earlier this year, in a similar sort of father-daughter off the grid kind of way. It's very much a different reason. You know, he's off the grid because he's like this hippie in a Jack and Rose, because he's this hippie sort of intellectual, and in this case, Ben Foster's character is off the grid because he just cannot function in society anymore because of his PTSD. And really, this film has a lot to say about what we do to veterans, what we put them through, what we expect them to come back to, how we expect them to behave after seeing things that are unfathomable. There's this one scene towards the beginning of the film where he has to do this sort of questionnaire so they can figure out his psychology, and it's asking horrific questions, and you can see he's just like, what the fuck? But it's trying to get to, like, you know, is he stable? Can he have his daughter? And it's just a heartbreaking moment. So I enjoyed this film immensely. It's got a very large female crew. Debra Granik, obviously, she directed it. She co-wrote it with Anne Rossellini, who also produced the film along with Ann Harrison and Linda Reisman, and it was edited by Jane Rizzo. So you've got a whole lot of women working on this film. It's got a strong female lead in Thomasin McKenzie. Really great chemistry, really great just vibe about it. Beautiful, beautiful cinematography, capturing the gorgeousness that is the Pacific Northwest. It's just a really good film. Made me really sad, really tense in moments, really heartwarming in other moments. I highly recommend it if it's playing anywhere near you. Don't believe anybody who says that good movies are seasonal. There are good movies all year long. Unfortunately, a lot of them are independent, and they are harder to find because they're in less theaters. But if you're in a theater near this one, seek it out, find it, let it change you, let it wash over you. It's a beautiful film. This is Debra Granik's Leave No Trace.